So today we're talking about increasing the revenue in the practice. And practice is important because everybody wants to make money. But the reason that I really am doing this is because, one, I know right now that a lot of practices, gearing up again, getting all their patients back in, being closed or emergency hours, we want to vamp things up again and get some money generated. And on the standpoint of the assistant, which I'm all for, I believe that, the more the practice makes, the more the assistant will make. So that's why it's important to me, because that's why I did it initially, working in practices as well. I wanted it to be successful. I wanted my doctor to make more money and have a more successful practice, because then, my career was more successful as well. I would benefit from it. So generating income in the practice. Now, I've said this before, everybody's heard this before, but rarely is it actually done and maintained. And I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm just reinventing how much tread you get from it, how much traction you're going to have from these, and how often you'll have to rotate it. So many times it is these sorts of programs and additional revenue generators, they always fall into the assistant responsibility managing. So we really do have to, once again, have really sustainable and easy implemented procedures. And then it will run itself. And also, I'm well aware, my goal is always to have a successful pay, stay, refer practice. I mean, we're not, coming away from that. That is the most successful personally and professionally, is to educate patients and have a pay, stay, refer practice. But these are additional things that I believe will also really promote your practice, will oftentimes have other patients walk in, or other people walk through your door for these services, and then they become patients of chiropractic. So yes, so doing that, I believe, is really important, because your patients are going to go look for these services or these products somewhere else anyway. So why would you not promote what you already recommend, what you already use? And I believe that patients that are have access to all of these things, that it'll benefit their well-being as well. So, and it will help their all over, health. So I'm all for them. I know that some doctors, some chiropractors don't like my number one, and my number one is orthotics. And some doctors don't believe in them. Some think they're just a headache. A lot of assistants think they're a headache and they're hard to manage. The reasons that orthotics are so difficult, I think, for practices is because either, one, they're doing shoes. Shoes can be more work. So you can always just stick to just doing orthotic inserts. Very straightforward. But having established procedures, again, we're all about prevention, will set up so it's really seamless and quite easy. Orthotics are the biggest money generator you could have. It's amazing. It's a massive income to generate, just to offer to your practice, to your patients. Now, the key to enabling seamless orthotic orders is to establish your orthotic checklist to your patients, because the other headache is when they don't get reimbursed by their insurance. If you're not get reimbursed, it becomes the practice's headache, it seems. So I'm very upfront when I'm speaking to a patient about orthotics. I have a checklist that I will give to them, an orthotic checklist, and that's available on the website in Practice Resources. It's already made up. You can just print it off and hand them out to your patients. You can even do that even if somebody doesn't actually ask you about the orthotics. I will, if they mention them in any way, I always hand them the checklist first. And that checklist is for their responsibility to call their provider, and the questions are on there for them. There's room for them to make little notes, but it's exactly how their extended healthcare provider, what they require for them to get orthotics. Sometimes they'll need a medical prescription from a medical doctor. Sometimes they need a podiatrist. Sometimes they need a chiropodist. So there's certain criteria for each plan that a company would buy. And patients will always ask us, like, well, I have Great West Life, but explaining to patients their insurance, that we don't know what their coverage is, that each company will buy a certain package of insurance, so they can all be different, even if it's from the same insurance company. So giving them that checklist first puts the responsibility on the patient to ensure that they are acting correctly to be reimbursed. So the checklist will ask, do I require a medical physician's note? Can a chiropractor do orthotics for me, or do I need a podiatrist or chiropodist? And it goes on. Do I need a foam cast? So that checklist is complete for you, and you will put it in their hands. It's not something you, the assistant, has to know, memorize, or go over. Just giving them that checklist. They will call their insurance company. They will come back to you and say, yes, a chiropractor can do it. Yes, I need a 5-point scan, or I need a 3D scan, or I need a foam cast scan, whatever it is they need. But the responsibility is theirs to get reimbursed. But we want to make sure that they do everything properly, so that they're not coming back to our office and saying, I didn't get my money back. And the next thing you know, you're on the phone with their insurance company, because I've had to do that. So I really had to troubleshoot that sort of thing to make it a lot easier. Now, having that done, you can also, the paperwork on orthotics, insurance companies want 3 things. They want to see how the product was made. They want to see the cost. They want to see, the prescription or the recommendation, and they want to see a breakdown. So most orthotic companies will provide you with that those forms. And the only thing that you'll have to have is your own office statement with the cost of the orthotics, with your doctors or whoever did it, on the top of the page, and their registration number and so forth. If a chiropractor in your practice doesn't want to do orthotics, or, there are chiropractors who say, I don't believe in them, I don't want to do them. But you know what? I've happened to see how they've really benefited people, like, quite a bit. And I actually have worn them because I want to know. And at that time, I did a lot of ultrasounds. So I would go 12 hours bent over, hunched over and stuff. And my low back, of course, you've got to stretch it out, adjustments. But, I had to maintain my low back because I was doing so much of that, working on patients. So I did get a pair of orthotics, and man, it really did make a difference for me. So I saw for myself, and, whether you like them, believe in them, whatever, there are still going to be patients who will want them. So why have them go someplace else when you can offer that in your practice? And it really does, it makes so much money, and it can be very, very simple. I recommend, if you have it sort of established in your practice, then, and it's not really up and running, contact your orthotic providers. And if there's several, like here in Ontario, we have different ones. We have FootMax, Orthotic Group, Orthogenic, different ones. I've had doctors just reach out and set up meetings with each one to see what they're going to offer the practice and the support, because I promise you, they want you to sell their product. They really do. And I keep track of all the orthotic orders, and I do invest in little reminder cards that if I know somebody's due for their orthotics, I'll send that to them, or I will remind them in the practice. Okay. But if you don't want to have that day-to-day responsibility, you can send out reminders for orthotics to your patients. And I find generally they're grateful for that, and they will come in because it's been so easy in the past, right? It's very simple. So if anybody has any questions about orthotics and the insurance, again, I can do a one-on-one or, shoot me an email. But getting that established, it really is quite simple. And a lot of times, again, it falls on the assistants. Generally, I will always have the setup done. If it's a scan, I've done the scans and had all the paperwork, general paperwork, all filled out and ready to go. And then the chiropractor just walks in, they will look over the scan, make sure it's correct, do their exams and their tests, and then they'll just finish off their paperwork and hand everything to me. And so it doesn't take that much time for them. And I mean, one pair of orthotics with generating 300, possibly 350. And more times than not, I always end up with a family, because if one person will get them and it goes so smoothly and so easily, they're always going to bring in their spouse or their children, or, you know what I mean? They will all come in to have them. And I mean, that's thousands of dollars. Within 30 minutes, a chiropractor would have to see 32 patients to generate that kind of income. So I also have really put that together because it was a great incentive for assistants and for chiropractors. So if the pay scale and raises and incentives came up, it was a great way to add incentives to assistants as well. And I'm not saying go in there and demand a cut of those orthotics from your doctors, but it's a great give and take. When you're promoting something and you're generating income in the practice for the chiropractor, that's a great way for them to give you an incentive. That's not a big, yearly raise or a chunk of, but it's a good incentive. Like I've said, to other doctors that, you will never see an assistant get on the phone and say, hey, you are due for your orthotics when they have that incentive. They will stay on top of it, which of course we should anyway, but it's such a great incentive when it's going to benefit you as well, right? So again, just reach out to your orthotic companies if you have questions, but because they really will support you. I've done it, and they're all for having their products in your practice. And it doesn't take that much time when you have all of that laid out in advance, when you already know what you need to do, when it's all set up for you. So I also believe in cleaning up your accounts receivable. Now, again, I'm not reinventing the wheel, but we're going to really get some traction here, because I've gone into practices that, to do some consulting and see, help them out and organize things. And the first thing I look at is their accounts receivable, because that tells me everything. That tells me so much. And I'm going to be discussing more of this sort of thing when it comes to direct billing and such. I'm not a fan of direct billing. I usually, when I do go to a practice to consult and help, organize, I will get them away from direct billing. And I have many reasons for that. But one of them is the accounts receivable. It's so difficult to manage direct billing, and it just drives up the accounts receivable. A lot of times it's so hard to, unless you have established procedures that are so bang on and you have multiple assistants that have those responsibilities to handle it quickly, your best way to do direct billing is to absolutely process that billing while the patient is still in the practice, in case it doesn't go through. Or they have a copay for it, a certain amount that they have to pay, because so many times the patient will walk out and then you realize that it wasn't paid. Also, I want to say that Sun Life has gone away from billing through TELUS. They have broken away from billing through TELUS, so it's a little bit more difficult. I'm going to give Sun Life a call and try to get more information, because I don't feel like it's as user friendly as TELUS was. So like you are not able to bill anything prior 30 days. So if you're going to start cleaning up your accounts receivable now from direct billing and they've been in 30 days prior, you can't bill it now through TELUS or Sun Life. So now you have to give patients statements and you're hoping they're going to pay it. So that's one of my biggest issues, one of them, with direct billing. I believe it can really hurt a practice because that is one of the biggest problems with the accounts receivable is that mostly, I mean, sometimes patients who have extended health care, they literally walk in and think, well, it's free, which is another issue for me. And another thing that I will talk about, you know, and here's what I'll say about that. There's no value on anything free. Okay, so having patients value their care is our number one priority. Valuing themselves and their well-being and taking responsibility. So when we are just direct billing and they're not responsible, then a lot of times they don't have that understanding, right? There's no value to anything free. So that's my other issue with direct billing. But accounts receivable, you've got to clean up your accounts receivable. I've gone into practices that, I mean, I have sent out statements, invoices for 2 years prior. You will be shocked at how many people will pay that bill. I've brought in thousands of dollars to practices that had old sitting around, you know, accounts receivable. So you have to stay on top of it. And the only way to really stay on top of your accounts receivable is having patients pay. Like, just establish that. If you're in a practice that things were being done a certain way, it's hard to retrain patients, right? It's hard to retrain them. So sometimes you will just have to, you know, suck it up and keep them sort of grandfathered into that old way of doing things, but staying on top of it. But going forward, you either need to be completely on top of your accounts receivables. They must be sent out. Any accounts receivable you have, they must be sent out every month, emailed out or put in the mail. Send those out every month. It's really difficult at the front desk with patients coming in, coming out, you know, answering their questions, providing statements. You know, we do so much more for them with their x-rays, with all of these things that they require from us. It's, if you're sitting there, even if you have another assistant with you in the practice, but when you're at that front desk, it's really difficult to just jump on every single thing. And it's so easy for patients to come out of a room and say, okay, see you Wednesday, and out the door they go because you're busy with somebody or you're on the phone. Right. So that's what happens. Or they'll say, I'll call you for an appointment, you know, like things like that. So I believe patients, my patients in offices I'm in, I have them come right to the desk when they walk in and they make their payment right away. And then they will go to the waiting room, or I will say, great, thanks, you know, go on into room, whatever. So they're trained that way. And even when I go into an office that is doing it a different way and I start establishing that, a lot of times they would say to me like, oh, I've never done this before. Why do I have to do this? I straight up will say to them, and I mean, most times I'm new going in there. So I will say, well, this is how we're doing it now. Now, literally, I've said to some patients when I've gone into a practice that was really, their receivables were a mess, I have straight up said, well, Dr. So-and-so has lost so much money over the years because of this, this, and that. So we have a new system to ensure that he or she gets paid for their services. So this is why I have no problem saying that in some, you know, circumstances. Or I will just tell them straight out, I'm the only one here working here. It's hard to manage. This is easier for me if you come in and do it this way, and then I can provide you with your statement when you're leaving, or email, or whatever. Okay, do you know what I'm saying? Like, really try to instill that in your patients to come to the desk and make their payment. And like you were saying, Veronique, I have another game changer that will make more money in the practice as well, that will also free up your time at the front desk. Okay, so clean up those accounts receivables, do your very best with it, get them out get them mailed out, get them emailed out. Most patients are going to come in and they're going to feel bad a lot of times. I would get calls and say, I didn't realize, I didn't know I owed that. I'm so sorry. You know, and even if patients have a bill, and you cannot let it get run up, because it'll become so uncomfortable for you to have to address, you know. And it's acceptable. It's perfectly acceptable for you to say, this is your bill, here's what you pay. That's the law of fair exchange, right? You come in, you get a service, and you pay for it. I had a patient who complained once because he had a massage, and he was late and he wanted to get back for his massage. Now, I'm okay with saying pay when you come out, just head on back if I know the patient, but it was a newer patient, and the assistant at the front desk said, I need you to pay, you know, because this is how we do things. So he threw a bit of a fit. So the next day I called because she had told me, you know, how he reacted. He was upset. When I phoned him, and he said to me, like, I don't understand, who pays for something they haven't received? And I said, airline tickets, gas, grocery.
That's exactly
And
what
then
some
I
patients
explained to
told
him,
me.
that's right. And I explained to him that we do that because it's more efficient for the practice and for him, because we generally have the statement signed by the massage therapist, and we needed to get that statement processed. So, you know, at the end of the day, he laughed about it and he said, you're right. I apologize. You're absolutely right. I said, now we know you're not new to us, but, you know, we'll let you head back and get your care. But, you know, she didn't know who you were. We don't know that you'll pay, you know, and everybody deserves to be paid for their work. So this is what we do. So like I said, a lot of patients will apologize. The accounts receivables, I work with people if their bill is super high, but they must pay something. And I see also a lot of accounts receivable comes from not just extended healthcare, but from a bill being run up, because a chiropractor and an assistant's really kind, and they want to help people if they've lost their job, or, you know, they get paid this day or they get paid that. You know, we want them to have the care. Of course, I do it too, always with the discussion with the chiropractor on how we can do something. I would prefer that, if that's the case, that you're making arrangements with a patient to, you know, because they're financially strained, you're better off to have a lower rate for that patient that they can manage, and have a set time on that until they can get on their feet. You really are. They will appreciate that. They have value for it because they're paying something for their care, and they will feel good. They won't feel bad, like, you know, like that they're asking for, you know, a handout or things like that. So I'll agree with some patients, and it can be whatever they can afford. The doctor wants them to have the care. If it's a patient with great intentions who we've known for a long time and we want to support, it's nothing to that chiropractor to ensure that they're getting better. We're not giving away free care to people. We're not doing things like that. But it's okay to help people that way. But you are better off to say, hey, pay half the amount, give them a special rate for, you know, 3 months or 2 months, whatever, but set a time, put the comments on their account that this is what we're doing for this amount of time. And then it's easy to go in and revisit when you've told them that, like, you know, hey, Kathy, we're just going to charge you $20 a visit. Dr. So-and-so, you know, agreed to that. We want you to get the care and we want to help you. We've known you a long time. You're a great patient. So we're going to charge you $20 a visit for the next 2 months. And I'll remind you, and we'll see where you are then and what we can do. They will love you for that. And when you have to go back to revisit it after 2 months to say, hey, how you doing? It's that time. You've already told them you're going to do that. It's not embarrassing. It's not hard for you to do it. You can say, where are you at? How's it going? Listen, 100% of the time, every one of those patients that I did that with, they wanted to pay extra when they could, you know, and I didn't take it because I wanted to honor our agreement. But that is a way to not have people run. You cannot have a bill running up. You cannot. It is so difficult. If they had a hard time paying the visit for 1 visit or 2 visits, how hard is it going to be for them to pay for, you know, 10? You just can't do it. You know, even if you go, like I said, month by month, that's much easier for you trying to recoup that money and have that awkward conversation, right? So send those out monthly, get those sent out. I know it's all more work. I know it is, but in the long run, it'll save you. And again, preventative assisting is what we're doing. We're establishing those boundaries, and this is how we do things, you know? And if you're struggling, then we'll help you with that too. But we have to have some boundaries so you're not at the end of year end writing things off, you know, or sending out a huge amount that's so far back of accounts receivables to patients that are like, that's from 2019, but I've done it. And it's incredible. Like I've had doctors say to me, just write them. We should write them off. We're never going to get that. And I'm like, just let me try. Just let me try. And the same will go for billing for motor vehicle accidents and WSIB. There is a time limit on these things. They're all time sensitive, but reaching out and sending those bills out, again, I've gone into practices that have been not maintained. And I've gone through their insurance, like their MVA, WSIB, and I will do it all up and I will send it all out and just see what comes back in. You got to give it a shot, right? And your goal is to have that accounts receivable. Look, every practice I work in, every single practice I go into and come out of, their accounts receivables at negative. The practice literally owes money to the patients when I'm done. Okay. And that's what we want as assistants because it's less work for us. So at least I send out the paperwork. It's almost like a, 4 years ago for a bill. I know it's crazy because if I got a bill from 4 years ago, I'd be like, oh my goodness. I mean, if it's that far, like if it was that long ago, sure, you can give a call. And I've done that as well. I've given a call and said, listen, I want to let you know. Okay, here's an example. I had a daughter who paid for her mom. Okay, so the mother-daughter would come in and so the mom would just come for her visits and she didn't pay anything. So the bill was getting higher and higher and the daughter hadn't been in for any adjustments because she used to come in, once a week or every 2 weeks and she would say, what's on my mom's account? And she would pay everything. So it was consistent. But then the daughter stopped coming. And there I am with the mom coming in and the daughter's supposed to pay it, right? So long story short, I gave her a call, the daughter, and I said, I got her voicemail and I just left the voicemail saying, hey, I want to let you know that I've sent out an invoice to you for your mom. I don't want you to stress about it because it's a bit high, but I needed you to be aware of it. And give me a call, we'll work through it and we'll get it paid. So you can call people if it's 2018, but you know what? 2018, I would send them all out. Okay, just people that he really, really knows well, and they should be, you're trying to get them back into the practice for adjusting as well, then a call. But if these are patients who left their accounts and, if it's a high one, I'm working for it. Like I had a patient it was 2 years old and it was $400 and some. I gave them a call and I sent out that invoice and they came in and they paid that. So, you're walking a fine line, but you can say, I want you to know I sent out an invoice. I know it's from quite a while ago, but we couldn't reach you and you had stopped coming in. So we're really just cleaning up accounts receivable in the practice. And it'd be great if you can give me a call back to make arrangements to pay it. Thanks so much. That's fine. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But anything more recent, send out the invoice. I mean, because if it's a lot, you're really cleaning it up, you're going to be on the phone all day. And that's one of the things I don't want accounts receivable to do is take away from the patients that are in the practice. I mean, the number one thing we have to do is free up our space and time and have things efficient so that we can spend that time. We are the big educators of chiropractic and wellness in the practice, right? Because we spend so much time with all the patients. So I want assistants to have that kind of time, promoting their well-being, continuing their care, things like that. That's much more important to achieve that pay, stay, refer. That's more important that we have that kind of time to give to the patients, not with our heads down, doing administrative and accounting work, I don't do any insurance during adjusting hours, MBA, WSIB, or if there's direct billing. I do none of that during adjusting times. That is for closed special times, not in front of patients, because I prefer it to be just wellness, adjusting, education, taking care of the patient's needs for their health care, not paperwork, you know? Unless they're in front of me asking me for something, then of course I'm going to, generate it for them. But clean up that accounts receivable. And once you get as far as you can with it, then start new with your new procedures. Sometimes I've gone into these practices. Sometimes you got to just cut your losses, write them off, and get going fresh. But I always give it a try to get that money back. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is inventory. Inventory in the practice. Now, we all have it. Again, most practices probably have dabbled or have these sort of things established in the practice already. But I'm looking to give you the free time and have it just easily implemented and sustainable. Most times they're all great ideas, but they aren't sustained. They're not maintained. Right. So having these structured procedures for everything, it makes it much easier, and you don't have to think about it all the time. Like I said, and it's a lot of it's going to fall on the assistant. So we need to have this easy. It needs to be done much easier. Now, inventory, some practices don't want to have it. Some practices have all kinds. Some practices have things expire on their shelves, which I've seen as well. So listen, just whatever the chiropractor wants, of course, but patients are going to go elsewhere, whether it's for TENS machines. Like, oh my gosh, if I had to listen to one more patient, I would be in a practice with a huge, clinic electrotherapy machine, and I would roll that into the room, and the patients would be like, "Is that a Dr. Ho?" It would always drive me crazy. Listen, I hats off to Dr. Ho for all of his marketing genius, right? But here's one thing right now. There is like a professional grade, smaller TENS machines, okay, that you can order. And the cost of those are $60. And they retail for $150. They are amazing little portable patient machines, TENS machines, electrotherapy. They can do so much. They're fantastic product. I own one, and I give them as gifts to most of my family. I give them to a lot of family members. They also, you can order those and you can sell them for $150. I mean, you can have a $60, $70, $80 profit off of those. And the same with anti-inflammatory creams. You're going to get a good professional brand. However, I do recommend that you have something that's affordable, because I've gone to practices where they'll carry a product that's $50 a tube. Now, a patient who you're going to recommend that to normally has pain, right? So they're going to be coming a lot. They're going to be coming more frequently. So now there's the patient. They're going to come in. They're going to have all these adjustments booked. It's costly. And then, of course, having that anti-inflammatory cream at home for home care would be really beneficial. But it's another $50. So I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to pay $50 for that, even if I believe in it and I know it's great, right? I mean, some of these products, the only reason I use them is because I get them at cost. But if I didn't, I'm not affording those. I'm not going to, pay for that and all the other things. So having something that's affordable for me and over my career, Trauma Care is a fantastic product. And it runs about $24, $25 for a tube. Cost, I think, is $11, $12, depending on where you're ordering it. But it's a great product. It works. And you could also do things. I like to try to stay Canadian, of course. So there's Physio Cream. I believe that's from a West. It's a great product. It is a great natural anti-inflammatory as well. So anti-inflammatory creams, the TENS machines, back supports like car back supports, they're huge money generators. And again, all of these things, supplements, if you don't want run the big gamut, and again, make them affordable for your patients. I mean, they're going to use them if they can afford them and maintain it, right? Everything's about maintenance. So getting a good professional products that are affordable. You don't want to just, get in the, $80 vitamins because how many people are going to buy those? How many of those are you going to sell? But if you're going to have a $36 supplement vitamin, then you're going to sell more of those. And they're a great brand and they work well. And again, patients want to take the advice of you and your practitioners, right? Lots of times I've seen practitioners because they're like, oh, you should go to the health store. It's just around the corner, get this, or that. It's just basic things, but why don't you sell it? Why don't you profit from the things that you already use, recommend, and you want your patients to have? They really do generate a huge income because I'm going to talk about stats in other workshops. I look at the stats and I can see how much is generated from an adult adjustment, senior adjustments. So I go through all of that and I check out our inventory to see how that's working as well. So definitely choose what your doctor uses and then look into ordering that and having it in and promoting it. Now, as far as promoting, I also would say this here. If you have a lot of offices will have boards in their practices, for announcements and things like that. I think they're great. Don't go tearing down walls and building big boards in your practice, but placing certain products in certain areas of the practice are a great idea. Okay, so I usually target things seasonally. So like for allergies, for cold, like vitamin C, vitamin D, things like that, like certain supplements that will benefit. Okay. You can have your product of the week or month. You can't change things out weekly. They're busy. So aim for monthly. You can promote the TENS machine. You can promote the back support, whichever, right? But you have to put it out there. Same with the orthotics. You have to have it in your practice to start that conversation. So patients will have the conversation. I know it's kind of like product placement in the practice, but it's the same reason we have certain information in the adjusting room that's for initial visits and report of findings, right? We gear towards those initial patients and the second visits, certain posters, certain pamphlets, certain information, right? Like the spine and things like that are usually in the room that you're going to have initial visit and a report of findings. So doing the same things with your products and your inventory. Okay. And get some of this stuff yourself because it really does work. Like I said, the TENS machine, explaining to patients that like the Dr. Ho is unreal. It is just plastic. I mean, I don't know how old everybody else is here, but it's like those transistor radios we used to have as kids. That's incredible to me when they bring it into me to teach them how to use it. And I hold it and I'm like, what did you pay for this? So when you could have a professional brand that is just incredible and pay less, and your practice is going to make probably an $80 profit off of it, and bonus, it helps with their care. It really does help with their care. Just like having massage or acupuncture along. Listen, chiropractic is my protein. Massage, acupuncture, all those other things are like my vegetables, and things like that. They all add together, but chiropractic's my number one, always is. But if I got adjusted every day but did nothing else outside of that practice, it's going to be harder for chiropractic to help me, right? So the stretches, the TENS machines, the supplements, all of those other things will really enhance their well-being, of course. So you're not trying to sell something that's, you're not trying to shove something at a patient that they don't need. And we don't hard sell ever anyway. We don't sell anything, right? We provide. Okay? We provide. Educate.
Yeah.
That makes everything easier. Sure. I've had lots of patients or certain chiropractors that really sold a lot of these water pillows. I think they were what? Yeah, they were water pillows. Like I had some patients that loved them and just would order like several as gifts. I had a man come in who loved his so much and he traveled with it that he gave it to all of his clients. Like he was in insurance and he gave it to some of his big clients as presents. Like, so things like that, right? I mean, whatever your patient's using, you don't have to carry those like car back supports. I sold tons of those, tons. People use them too for their office chairs as well. You can get them for that as well. And they have to be sized by the chiropractor, but you don't have to keep that in the office. You can have one in there and have it sitting in your waiting room so patients can try it out. But you don't have to carry all that inventory. You can just order them in. Have like a lot of that stuff, the TENS machine supplements and so forth. I have that stocked in the practice all the time. And again, promoting seasonal and certain things like that. Again, you could have like a allergy board or allergy information because that's coming up, right? Or allergy season. So certain supplements and even, top 10 recommendations you can have if you have a naturopath. If you're a multi-practitioner practice, a lot of your other associates could add to that kind of information. I used to do that in a big practice. I would go around and everybody would supply me with a write-up. So the naturopath would have a write-up for allergies. RMTs would write something up. Acupuncturists would write something up. I would have a supplement of the day, the chiropractor, and I would put that up on the board. And then it was something new and patients were like reading it and getting informed, and they love that. And then they'd say, where can I buy this? Sometimes we'd put recipes up. I'm not saying do that, but our naturopath would provide those. I was not putting my recipes on the board. And patients can just take a picture with their phone, or sometimes I would print out certain things and just have it on the desk for a certain product, right? So do things like that. Also, start the conversation. We're talking about the pay, stay, refer. I want to touch on the internal referrals, which I'm going to talk about in the courses as well. But this is key. If you have space, having a Chiro Kids area or wall for your kids. I did little pictures and then I would print them off with permission of the parent, of course. But, and they would go up on the wall. I was at a practice so long that I would retake photos and put them beside the kids to see how much they've grown. What that does is start the conversation and educate everybody else in your practice that comes through there that children get adjusted, and it's for prevention and maintaining a healthy spine. That starts that conversation to patients who never knew. Or, I feel like if a patient asks me, oh, I didn't know kids got adjusted, I didn't do my job. I'm like, how did they not know that? So having it in the practice is a cute thing to start. It's a really nice thing to start. And the families love it. The kids love having their pictures up on the wall and things like that. And then other parents come in, grandparents, and they'll see the kids. And, and I've also said to new patients who I've had this guy and who was in his 20s and he was really nervous and about his adjustment. And I said, you see that wall out there with all those kids' pictures, those babies? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, don't be a baby. They get adjusted. And he would just laugh, but he goes, really? And I'm like, yeah, the kids get adjusted. He was like, oh, okay. I feel better now. I feel better. So having those types of things in the practice as well will start those conversations and promote all that you have. Having a board or an introduction. If you're a bigger practice, have a month of meet our team. If you can put your chiropractor with a little bio, your acupuncturist, massage therapist, anything that you offer in your practice, get that out there. I assure you, you've got patients who've come through who never knew you did something because they just came for adjustments and they never even got that far in the practice because they walked in and out into things. And it's hard for us we can't sit there all day going, oh, by the way, we sell this and we have this and we have that. So meet the team, and all of your services board or things like that can be a great, especially with spring coming. Revamp the practice, right? Take a look around, see what's stale, see what you can redo and reinvent and reintroduce to your patients. Okay. So inventories, really great tool for patients' well-being, and it does benefit the practice, and it helps the chiropractor with their job if they've got a TENS machine in there, or they're stretching, or they have bands, or they're sleeping better because of this, that, whatever. You know what I'm saying? The next thing I want to talk about is adding associates, or even having associates. Again, get that introduction of your associates. When a new associate comes into a practice, I always do a bio and a big welcome to the practice. It goes on the social media. That's how old I am. It goes on the Facebook, kids. It goes on social media, on the web page. I print it out. I have it in the practice. It really shows your patients that you're growing, that you're developing, you're adding, you are really aware and giving your best. The practice is putting their best foot forward and always continuing to learn and grow and provide as much as they can to patients. Okay. What I believe, and I'm going to talk about more about associates again in other workshops and practices or courses, but only add an associate. I've seen them fail because they're not done properly or at the right time. Add them if you have space for an associate. I don't think the two chiropractors without the proper space should be operating at the same time. I've seen it, and it's difficult, and it's hard on the assistant as well. So if you have space for associates, that's even like another chiropractor, massage therapist, other things. If you have the time, right, for, your chiropractor might be in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the practice is sitting empty Tuesday, Thursday, or mornings or evenings, whatever the schedules are. If the time is there for an associate, to be fair to that associate, you must give them every opportunity as well, as much as the practice owner. And if there is a need for it, okay, just filling the space with another practitioner that just for the sake of having them there, you have to be able to promote them and help build them as well. And there has to be a need for them. So I recommend for chiropractors, bring somebody in if you have the space, time, and the need for it. You want to really build your own practice and focus on your own. You'll make more money doing that than having an associate come in and have a trickled patient load, right? But maybe they bring something different. I worked with, had an associate chiropractor who was also did acupuncture, was an acupuncturist, certified, and went to university for it and such. So that was huge because some patients would say, I want to see this doctor because I also do acupuncture with them. So things like that. Go ahead, Veronique. Do you have a question?
No, that's okay.
Have the space only if you really have the need for it. But it is good. I mean, if you're run ragged, your chiropractor, you can always relook at your hours. I mean, a chiropractor should always be available 3 times a week, always at least 3 times a week. So many of them will do 2 evenings, and a Saturday morning, or they'll do 3 evenings and 2 mornings, or you know what I'm saying? So you have to have space for an associate to build and grow. I had a chiropractor call me the other day and asked me a couple of weeks ago and talked to me about an associate, bringing an associate, and talked about even payment and how to pay them. Look, I can help you with that, your doctor with that, do a one-on-one with any practitioner that they might want to bring in, and discuss how to do that, how to do the contract with them, and for the payment arrangement. Now, this other chiropractor was thinking of doing hourly. I don't believe in hourly for associates because you have to have incentive from them to build their practice. If you're just going to pay them for the hour to sit there, I want to pay them by a percentage so that they hustle and they care about their practice and they help grow it themselves. I'm always happy to help, initiate a new practitioner coming in, new associate, but darn it, I'm not feeding them. They must learn to grow their practice as well and be on top of things, just like our procedures are, right? So doing things like that. Now, I'm going to talk about fees. This is what we were talking about too, Veronique, about the accounts receivable. Now, I have a system that I do in all practices that I'm in that have been hugely successful, and it just ticks off so many boxes for practitioners and assistants. Now, back in the day, I started a HIP plan, we called it. This is going back over 25 years. We developed this thing called HIP plan, Health Investment Plan. How cute is that? So it was a yearly investment plan for their health. And, the doctor would give us the schedule of care, and we would fill in all the, 3 times a week for so many weeks, twice a week for so many weeks, divide it up over 12 months. And this is what they would pay monthly, right? Now I'm running through that because I've gotten rid of that. And the last 15, 16 years, this is what I've done instead. And it's looking at your fees. Now, no doctors like this when I first start discussing it, because they're like, what? You want me to drop my fees? How am I going to make money if I drop my fees? Well, here's how you do it. I do prepayments, pre-bookings, 12, only 12. And they will get an incentive. So let's say your fees are $40, then that person, if they prepay 12 visits, which is I think $420, like, I'm not math, that sounds like math, they would end up paying $35 in adjustment. So they prepay, they have a credit on their account. We make them an adult prepaid as their category. I'm going off $40 just to keep it simple. And we make that fee $35. So each time they come in, they will just come in and walk out, because in the second visit, I call it the CA's Roth, we will go in and sit down and discuss these sorts of things. Now, trust me, we're not going in there, and I'm going to cover this further, but you walk in and you can have this discussion in private. It's an option. There's no contracts involved with this. There's no signature. There's nothing involved in this. This is for any patient, anytime at all, that they can come in and prepay 12 visits, and they will save approximately 10%, but it's $5. I keep it simple. If it's 40, they pay $35 in adjustment, and I have their visits pre-booked. So now they're walking into the practice, they're already paid, and they're already booked. They already have their schedule. It's done, 12 visits. That's it. Just saves me time. And then as an assistant sitting there, when that patient goes out and I see they have their last credit on their account, I know they need a re-exam. Now I'm booking that progress and re-exam and giving the extra time. And the doctor will know their next visit is a re-exam. And I have the paperwork ready and I'm ready to go, because it checks that off. Assistants and doctors have a hard time tracking those to do the progress and re-exams, and they're very important. They're very important to do. First of all, you should be doing them. You have to do them, but it's a great way to track them. It's very simple. And then the patient actually knows. Anybody who continues to prepay their visits, they'll say, where am I at? Oh, I'm having a re-exam. Patients love their exams. It means they're going to come less. It means they're going to get information. They're going to know that they're doing well. They want that accomplishment. They want to achieve their health goals, right? So it's a great tool for that purpose as well. Also, it's extremely affordable for family care. Imagine a family, even of 4, coming in at regular rates consistently and maintaining it. The climate right now is insurance companies cutting extended health care for workers, right? That's how they save money. That's happening. That's been happening. So even your patients who are insurance driven, they're looking at how much less they have to pay now. So saving money is so important. And what a great time to introduce this new fee schedule and options to your patients when it's a format that your chiropractor is trying to help these patients maintain their care and not have to give it up. And that is the truth. That is what we're doing it for. But it sells itself because patients are like, wow, I'll do that to save money. Oh yeah, I'll save money, because they want to continue their care. And I also do, and I will send you this breakdown because it can sound complicated. But for family rates, I will do, say if it's myself and it's $40, I prepay, I pay $35. If my husband comes and he prepays, he's now a second adult prepaid. He pays 30. I know it's insane, but you cannot believe the number of debit and Visa and MasterCard slips that I have at the end of the day that are 700, whatever dollars, because they're prepaid. Okay. That is just huge revenue coming into the practice immediately. That's why I said my accounts receivable are on negative, because patients prepay. They want to do that. And you will see, your doctor will see more people, not just more people, they'll see more families. They'll see more the kind of patients they want to have. They will have patients that will be able to maintain their care, not come in and get out of pain, stop coming, come back in, get out of pain, stop coming. Okay. And lots of the patients will do it initially when they're coming a lot to save their money. And then lots of times they'll go back to just paying per visit because they're not coming that often. And then I have lots of patients who come once a month and they will prepay for the year. Done. And at the end of the year, I email them a statement. It's such a great system in the practice, and it saves so much time at the front desk to have those systems in place, and patients love them. I'll say this, I've gone into practices, put this in place, revenue through the roof, patient care is better, its maintenance is up, patients are happier, they're telling other people, they're referring, you got to go to my chiropractor, he'll do this, she'll do that, they do this for you, I brought my kids. And of course, children are much lesser. I mean, if you're going to charge, look, I would encourage a chiropractor, call me nuts, but I'd be fine having a bunch of kids and only charging $20 a visit. I mean, kids do not take up your chiropractor's time. Kids are the best patients you could ever have. They don't sit there and complain about their work day. They don't complain at all. They don't take any time. And you know what? They are lifelong patients. They will stay with you through university, get married, bring in that new boyfriend or girlfriend, spouse, bring their kids in, come pregnant. Like, this is what you're looking for. So making family care affordable, that's where you're going to get your pay, stay, refer practice that every chiropractor wants, because you're family friendly and you're working with your patients because you want them to have the care, and you're still going to make money. You still are. Absolutely, you're going to make money, but you're going to have really happy, healthy patients who are going to refer who? The same. Talk about referrals and internal referrals in the course, the CA courses as well. But I'm here to tell you, depending on the patient, that's the referral you're going to get from that patient. If you have a patient who is an energy vampire, who's always wants more from you, who wants it for free, they're going to refer that exact same patient to you. So creating your best patient and attracting them and training those patients, that's your referrals now. The same. Family of fives coming. I love them. And I love March break. A lot of offices might go a little down in patient numbers because people are away or summer. No, my practices go up because now all the kids are in the summer and March break because they're off, right? So whole families come in together. I love that. I love my chiro kids. So, and I've had the experience of having them children and then actually having their own kids coming in or being pregnant and seeing them coming in for chiropractic care. And that's what we really, really want. So that's the prepayment plan and adjusting the fees. So you would have like an initial adult, and then you can have second adult, and it doesn't have to be the spouse. I have some patients who come in and it's a mother and son, and the son's, out of university and working. So I will count them as a second adult. Listen, I did it in an office I was in when my son was out of school and old enough and working, and he was making some money. He was in his mid-20s. I put him as my second adult in the practice. So he still continued to get a discount, but my kid paid. I mean, nothing makes me happier than seeing my kids all their lives having complimentary chiropractic care, but when they're not at home or they move away or they're someplace else, and they'll walk into a chiropractic office and easily pay their money for their visit, because you know why? They know the value of it and they know they need it. So, but anyway, I will sometimes put like things like that, people like that, as a second adult to save. Having adult, senior, second adult, high school and up, having children like elementary school, or and babies and infants, preschoolers, having special rates for them, that encourages. Look, I've gone to offices too that charge like $45 across the board, every single person. Like, how are you going to have a family of 5 doing that every 2 weeks? Like, how accessible are you now to people when your rates are so high for an entire family? I mean, that's just my take on it. I want pay, stay, refer happy patients who refer the same kind of people. I want long-term patients that come forever and bring their children and bring their grandkids. And, that's the happy practice for me. That's a joy to walk into too. And I think for chiropractors as well, it's not as exhausting. Like I said, kids don't complain about their mothers and their dads, or their school day. They don't sit there 20 minutes with the chiropractor complaining about their teachers with little kids. So lots of those. They're going to be with you longer than any other patient, right? And have a seniors rate, because seniors will refer. Seniors will tell everybody about their chiropractor or their wellness center, or even you guys, to say, you got to go to my chiropractor. You got to go there. Lydia and Veronique, they're the best. Those girls do everything for you, So that's my take on generating quick income that you can shoot Monday morning. You can look, you don't have to bite it all off, but start looking into the orthotics. Start sending out invoices to all of your accounts receivable. Get that cleaned up. Start with a clean slate. Look at what your doctor wants to actually sell in the practice, and then promote them within the practice. And look at the rates. Your doctors, if they're not already doing this, are going to say, she's crazy. I'm not dropping my rates. But it's revamping the rates so that it's affordable, so you can see more people and have long-term patients that will refer the same, that will understand it. And what a better time than right now, when groceries and gas and everything else is through the roof, than for your particular chiropractor that is helping their patients and assisting them to continue their care. I mean, that is advertisement, like the best. That's the best thing. Anybody talking to anybody else that says, oh, I had to stop going, I can't afford it, the first thing they give up is self-care. The first thing people give up is self-care. So when your doctor is the one doctor in town that's going to say, hey, we're, and I like doing this to patients too. I did this in January because we did it all along but this one practice, I posted the rates and I had it on the desk. And when they came in, they're like, what's this now? And I said, oh, the rates have changed. I love doing it to them. And they're like, oh God, they immediately assume they're all gone up, right? And I'm like, no, in fact, they're a little bit less, because Dr. So-and-so really wants his patients or her patients to continue to get the care they need. They're well aware of the circumstances of the economy. They love it. They love it. And they're like, wow, okay. Then they see that prepayment option and they're like, I'm going to do that, because it's also saving them. Just, I cannot say enough. If your doctor's troubled or confused about it, tell them to give me a shout, and I can send you an example of the rates. Okay, I can email you all one of those so you can see how it works and how the categories for each of them will work. And what a great thing for us. Like, I love it. I literally just go adjustment, no payment, email statement. And you can email statement, make sure you're saying this to your patients as well. They can submit it to their extended health care, but they cannot submit the whole full amount of all 12 visits. It has to be services rendered, but you can still email them a statement from each visit and they can send it in and get that $35 back or whatever. they can still, or $40, they can still get that back each time, but not the full 400 and whatever dollar payment. Okay. Make sure they understand that. And I'm going to go over that again when I do initial visits and report of findings in the courses. Okay. Do we have any questions? No?
Not really.
That too, and the practice I was in when everything shut down, those patients too were used to being handed their file, and it was the hardest thing to break them of it. Like they just wanted that file so bad, and I was like, no, just for these purposes. But it's a good practice anyway. Again, all the things we're did throughout COVID, I would keep these going, every single one of them, forever. It's not that hard. It hasn't been that difficult to maintain it all. And again, when you have procedures and things structured, that's what you do, and everybody does the same thing, then it's not that difficult to do, and the hardest thing is not knowing if they're done, not knowing if this has been so that wastes more time than, having these procedures in place. But yeah, me too. I mean, I would like the doctors to attend, because it really is to benefit them. Make no mistake, I definitely understand that from many chiropractors' point of view, they just want you guys trained, and they want you to learn things and do it. And, fair enough, because I still give them credit that they are supporting their assistants. And I'm still stunned at the number that don't support their assistants. Like, I have talked to, like yourself, Lydia, you had said how long you've done this and had zero training, no opportunities for training. And I've spoke to so many assistants that were hired last year in the height of a pandemic that have never worked in a chiropractic practice before. So there they are, like, and still, like, no, I'm not saying chiropractors aren't supporting them, but still have contacted me, because I make it clear, if you want to join without your doctor or your practice, contact me personally, and I'll make that happen, because that's what it's an association for assistants. But it shocks me that I wouldn't run any business and hire somebody that has no idea what I do or sell, or, anything, and not give them any information on how to do it well. Any business, everybody gets training. Every job gets training. So it's really still shocking to me that, and here in Canada, especially, there's nothing. There's none. I mean, look, I've looked over the years. This is why I started it, because over the years I searched. I am always looking to learn. I'm always wanting that myself personally. And there was nothing for us, to learn from. Maybe the States. The States
Yes.
will have a few things, right? But it doesn't apply to us, and it's not the same thing. And it's not affordable all the time for practices to go over to the States for training or certain things. So that's why this had to be done. I'm going to keep on keeping on and keep training and keep teaching. And I want us to come together, when it's safe and everybody, we can do that. I'm going to go small groups, because it's important for us to have that camaraderie and come together. And hopefully more chiropractors will catch on to the how much it does for their assistants and how much it does for their practice. And what's important to me is that I will say this to chiropractors. We are the first introduction to chiropractic care itself most times to patients, because we're the ones that they call. We're answering the questions. We're, when they walk through the door, we set that tone. We introduce them to chiropractic and other things. So having the ability to manage it all is key. It's essential, Mm-hmm. So here's hoping that more doctors, I know it's the Saturday thing, and I've got to get the workshops up on the website. But look, nothing comes easy. It's not going to just fall into anybody's lap, right? But I'm going to try to make everything I do as easy as possible, because again, I've been there. I'm there. I was a single mom with 3 young kids that were super busy, and I was super busy supporting them and building practices. So if everything I've done over the years, and I have relearned things, like I said, the year-long health investment plans, I learned from that mistake. Look, it was something. It was taking the initiative and coming up with. The goal was to try to increase maintenance care, right? To patients to maintain their care, but I still continued to look at better ways, and I found better ways. And maybe in 2 years I'll come up with a better way, because it's about patient education, right? And how can we articulate it? How can we get our message across that gives us the best success for ourselves and our practitioners? So that's our goal. That's what it's about, having it easy. I'll never do anything that makes my job hard either. I won't, because I do it. I'm still doing the same work everybody else is every single day. And still, dealing with the exact same patients you guys have, the same practitioners you guys have. So the same patient management systems and the same rotten printers and fax machines. I printed out these my points here, and my printer at home, like it started to fade. So I had to print it all in red, in color, which is nice. That's fine. I have color. So next week, it's going to be care calls and the importance of doing care calls. And I have scripts, and I have a procedure for them, all written out, all done. I'm going to try to get that to everybody before next Saturday, so you can have a look at it and have it in front of you. I'll email it out to you guys. And then I'm going to do the course again on Tuesday, the following Tuesday, from 11:30 to 12:30, to try to see if it will help other people if they can attend.
The same.
So no questions, guys, anything at all?
Well,
no. And when they come through the door, if I'm sitting there and I'm not on the phone or I'm not busy, you know what I mean? When they come in, a lot of times they'll come in, take their shoes off or whatnot, and then sit in the waiting room. I will say to them, I would say, Veronique, do you want to do your payment now while it's quiet? Let's do your payment. So I would just start saying that each time, or they'll do it. I mean, occasionally when I was in a practice trying to change things around again, I was usually new to the practice. So they were sort of like, that's not how the other girl does it, or that's not what we do. And I would just make it so that I would explain that it's more efficient and I have time right now, right? So I would just say, this would be a great opportunity. Why don't we do your payment? I try to encourage offices to have wireless or cordless debit machines too.
Oh my!
Don't worry about it. Don't worry. But that would make it a lot easier too, because I would just walk over to them and put it someplace and say, here, you can go ahead and do your payment. And they're just tapping. So I would just start to encourage it. And then lots of times now, that particular practice, the patients walk in and they will say, I might as well do my payment now. So they're starting to get trained, right? They're getting trained too themselves. So like just saying, now would be a good time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they appreciate that, like when I go into a place that's been kind of high turnover or mismanaged, they're always like, okay, like I said, another assistant, but they quickly see that. And I mean, obviously they quickly see that I know my stuff and I'm efficient and I know exactly what I'm doing. But they don't know that all right away. I have to just teach them that I got it. Don't worry. I know. And it's a lot. I've been in some pretty rough, practices that needed a lot of fixing. So I generally just start with the appointments and the patients and files, getting, all files must be organized. If you have paper files, looking at the accounts receivable, and I try to start just training the patients that I already have to pay, and book their next appointment. That's my number one thing with the initial patients when I first go into a place, not initial patients, but when I first go in, is training the patients to be efficient, to come to the desk, make their payment, book their next appointment, make sure the doctor has the file. Just start with that. And then if you have time, work your way. This is about what's prioritized. And that's what's most important, is fixing the patients you do have. Fix what you've got first. and then the rest will come.
That's
I love that. And then, you know what I've seen, and then patients who aren't that, like I said, patients who are, difficult or not, I don't think there's any such thing. I think they weren't trained or informed. Most of those patients get away with things because it was difficult for the assistant. Like, let me say this, I will always back an assistant because I know what they've gone through. I've gone into a practice. It was a nightmare. Like, honestly, like I've had doctors call me the Gordon Ramsay of practice makeover. But I can see what she went through and why. Like, I've gone in where the accounts receivable is crazy. Files are everywhere. Like, there's barely files in the drawers. They're here, they're there, they're all over. This was a particular practice that I could see the way things were billed for insurance or MBA or WSIB. I could tell that this assistant did not know all that she needed to know. I will never put her down. I wouldn't put somebody down to the patients. I would show sympathy because that's my position as well. I'm doing that same position. So I would have some patients say to me like, oh, thank God you're here. Like, you know what you're doing. That other girl, they would put her down for different things, which I already knew what she was probably doing wrong. But I knew she didn't have time. She didn't have time. She was working by herself. She probably thought, and when you work by yourself, she probably thought she was going to get to all of that stuff. She thought she was going to get to it. And it just got, too much for her and out of hand. That's what happened. And then at the end of the day, you're too tired or you don't go in early the next day or whatever, things like that. But it just got out of hand and she didn't know what she should be doing to make things easier. She just didn't know. So I don't blame her. And she also didn't think that somebody was going to be coming in behind her and see what was wrong. She literally you work alone, you think, I'll fix it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. All of us have a stack of I'll fix it tomorrow, I'll finish that tomorrow. And then it gets smaller and replaced with something else and smaller and replaced with something else. We never get caught up, really. I always like to think I'm going to get caught up. I'm going to get that caught up today. But something else replaces what you're doing. But so that happens to people in the past, right? And again, if they don't have the tools, even I've got stacks of things to get done, right? But if you definitely don't have the training and you don't know, and a lot of assistants like this particular office, this assistant probably thought she did know because that's how she was trained someplace else, or somebody else showed her that. And then I come in and it's wrong. And, but I never put down anybody. When patients would say things about assistants that were replacing or coming in, I will always say, well, it's a big job. It's a lot. And I totally get how it overwhelmed her. That's all. Yeah. I will never put down anybody. Never. That's not my place. I don't even know most of those people, whether it's a chiropractor or assistant. I don't put anybody down. I just say, well, we're going to fix it now. That's okay. We're going to fix it now.
Exactly what I'm,
and they'll appreciate it. They'll have more patience. Like, I literally sat there looking at a screen, looking at accounts, and I couldn't make heads or tails of it. I was like, I have no idea what they did here. And I will just say, look at the patient and say, let me just check it out. Okay. I want to make sure I get it right. And I want to print it off and go through it detailed to make sure we're doing the right thing, but don't worry about it. They appreciate that too, because I don't want to give the wrong info either. So I just, if that's the case, I always say, let me take a look at it. I'll talk to you next visit. I'll have that done for your next visit. I've had patients say, I want a statement. And I look at the screen and the statement is like, I don't know what was done there. It's all over the place. It looks like they owe money. And they're like, I don't know any money. I need to take the time to fix that,
Exactly.
And I don't want to give an impression that, Dr. So-and-so who I'm working with, that they're not efficient or they're not adequate with hiring. I don't want to give off any impression like that. You know what I mean? And so I would just always say, yeah, things are a little disorganized, but I have a lot of experience. So I think I can get things all straightened out and it'll be fine. It'll be good. But I still will never put down another assistant or chiropractor or anybody like that. Not to patients.
No.
So, all right, guys, listen, enjoy the weekend. Have a
You
great
too.
day. And shoot me a message, or, anytime you need, I will send you the videos for sure. You got it, Sunita. I will, I just want to see. Yep. I will email them to you. Just send me an email with any questions, guys. Really, I'll get all the videos that I haven't sent out to all of you. And any questions, please. And encourage your doctors, if you can, to watch some of the Doctor Hours videos. They'd all benefit from all of the videos, but especially the Doctor's Hours. And don't bite off more than you can chew Monday morning, right? Go in, tell your doctor what you want to do. Just do one thing. Do one thing and then get that done. Okay? It could be your accounts receivable, or you can go in and say, hey, I want to really get the orthotics going, or I want to revamp the office, and I want to start promoting our products and our supplements and, all of our inventories. But don't try to do it all. Just take one thing, just one thing.
One step at a time.
First, and write the little procedure, put in your procedure book. Now it's done. Okay? All right. Well, hey, have a wonderful weekend. See you all next weekend. See you soon.
Bye-bye.